This podcast is brought to you by absolutely no one because I have no sponsors and I highly doubt anybody would ever sponsor this podcast. Um, it's also the fact that it's new, so it's not going to have any sponsors for very long. Well, I shouldn't say for very long. It's not going to have any sponsors in the beginning right now just because it is so brand new. And nobody knows about this. I'm doing this off of a whim. For those of you who don't know, my name is James, and this is not my first podcast, by the way. I was also involved in a podcast on the Crush Your Goals Network, which was just a film podcast, nerdy stuff, all that kind of nice jazz that, everyone likes these days, that I've liked since I was a kid. But this podcast is going to be quite a bit different. This is more so personal for me out of necessity. And anyone this helps along the way is an added bonus and something that I'll always be thankful for if anything that I say ends up helping somebody. Um, I guess I should start with the basics. Like I said, I'm James, for those of you who don't know. Anyone who's listening to this podcast probably already knows me, and is either friends with me or hates my guts or just doesn't care about me in any way, shape, or form. Um, which is, counterproductive because why would they be listening if they didn't care? But anyways, I am from California. I'm 28, soon to be 29, in the next month. So, almost 30. You know how that goes. Midlife crisis time for us 90s babies. But on this note, this podcast is, like I said, out of necessity for myself because I've been wanting to talk about issues that plague me and that might plague others. Well, I know they plague others because, I'm not the only person in the world with problems. Far from it. People might have the same problems as me. People might have problems that are, not as bad as mine. Some people have problems that are worse. This is just all to get everything on the table and help keep myself accountable for anything that goes wrong in my life, but also anything that goes right. I want to leave a paper trail that I can follow for myself and that others can follow to help keep myself accountable and possibly help everyone else keep themselves accountable. Not in the same way that I do, but just as a general outline and some guidance and some introspective, information on how to do it. Because let's be honest, no one's perfect. No one knows how to do these things. And the simple fact of the matter is we're all flying by the seat of our pants. Every single one of us. None of us has a plan. And if we do have a plan, that the universe doesn't care about that plan so much as to let it go the way that you want it to. There's always going to be roadblocks. There's always going to be, bad things that happen, other good things that are unexpected happen, but you just never know. Your plan is never set in stone because everything's always changing for the good or for the bad. You don't have any control over that. But what we can control is how we react to others, how we react to ourselves, and the decisions we make, based on, what's going on in our lives, good or bad. So, on that note, I'd like to start this properly. And I already introduced myself. I suffer from anxiety and depression. I have since I was a kid. It's just one of those things you live with. And, sometimes it's, you tuck it in the back of your head and you say, hey, I'm not going to let this affect me today. And some days it's just overwhelming. There are days where you just want to sit in bed and feel sorry for yourself, or, maybe not even feel sorry for yourself. Maybe you legitimately feel so bad and so it's so debilitating that you can't muster up any of the strength or the courage to just get up and go about your day. Everyone has those days. There's plenty of people that have those days. We have things that you need to get done, but you just physically and emotionally and mentally just cannot get them done. And that's okay. None of us are perfect. We all have our problems where, that's going to get in the way, But, other days are easier. Even me, like I said, suffering from this for the last 20 years of my life. Like, understandably, that I can pinpoint for myself has been the last 20 years. And so it goes without saying that I've had my share of ups and downs as much as anybody else. But at this point, I'm here to kind of shed some light on these situations and these feelings and all that kind of stuff for myself, as I stated, and for others. Because my genuine happiness in life comes from helping others. I can help myself. That's all fine and dandy. I do to an extent, my self-esteem is not the greatest. I'll be the first to admit that. But I always want others to do better than I do, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's in the workplace or my personal lives, anything. I just want others to do better. I really do. It's the number one thing on my mind at all times. I never want to overshadow anybody, and I myself take steps to not overshadow somebody and let others get wins over because they deserve them and because they worked hard for them. And in my mind, sometimes I don't need a win as bad as somebody else does. I can go another day without a win. I can. And that might not be the best way to go about it, but that is the way I go about it. I admit it. It's probably not healthy. And I'm not telling anybody else to do that. Never. I'm never going to condone any of the bad habits that I have and make them seem okay for others. Ever. It's just not what I want to do. I never want to be disingenuous to anyone that listens to this. When it comes to your personal, professional, romantic life, stuff like that, I'm pretty sure we all go through the same things, to an extent, just in different situations. Things are tweaked here and there. But yeah, for the most part, I would say that we all go through the same situations. We've all dealt with a lot of the same ups and downs and, stagnant times, and just, it's one of those things. It's human nature, what I like to call it. In that regard, there's just times where you have to bump yourself up and try to do what's best for yourself. And I know that's hard. I'll be the first to admit it. Again, you're going to hear that a lot. You're going to hear me say that a lot, that I'll be the first to admit, because I have a lot of inner demons that I need to get off my chest and I need to admit. And I'm willing to admit them. There's my sense of pride and all that it's not here anymore. At almost 30, I'm learning to let go of it, because things are not worth being mad over all the time, and they're not worth being sad over all the time. And it's just, you got to find a way to cope with these things and deal with them and bring them to light and air them out. You have to, or else they're going to eat you alive. I've spent, like I said, 20 years holding things in, and they just eat at me alive, honestly, every single day. And this is to make sure that I don't have that problem anymore. That no one I'm with has that problem anymore. That my children don't end up having that problem when they grow up or as they're growing up. Because the last thing I ever want to give to my kids is the inability to express themselves, good or bad, to me or to anybody else, and to themselves out in the open. I never want that for my children. or anyone that I date or marry or anything like that. I never want that. I only want what's best for them. And for them to be able to express themselves comfortably, honestly, with some integrity, that means a lot to me. That's my primary goal. And my friends too. It's not just meant for my personal life, like my romantic life and my family and stuff like that. It's to my friends too, which I'm glad to say I have, quite a few that I hold pretty near and dear to my heart. And I mean, I hope they care about me. I do, but I know I care about them. And, I've had falling out with friends that I considered amazing friends, like brothers and sisters. I have. But I've also retained very strong relationships with my friends. Yeah, I have. I would like to say I do. If any of them listen to this and they're like, nah, fuck that guy, like, I'll understand. But I just want what's best for everybody, regardless of who you are. I want you all to be better. I want, maybe my struggles will help bring some of your struggles to light and help you cope with them properly. It would be really, really, really nice if that were the case. But first and foremost, it is for myself. I'll be completely honest with that. I need a way to find, I need a way to help keep myself accountable. And that's number one. If you're ever going to help anybody else, always remember that you need to keep yourself 100% accountable first before you ever attempt to help anyone else deal with their own demons. I can't stress that enough. Because if you're not honest with yourself, and how do you expect them to be honest with themselves if they're taking you as the example to go off of? It just wouldn't be right. That's like saying you're a painter and you teach art classes, but you can only paint stick figures. It's not okay. It's disingenuous to who you are and to who they are. And you never want that. I think that all this happening right now, especially while I'm doing this, things are coming to light now just because we're all kind of quarantined. Society hasn't been the greatest at this point. Like I said, dealing with quarantine, and then a lot of stuff in the media just makes things worse. And, everyone's divided between, social justice issues, which we will be talking about briefly in a couple coming episodes. Not too heavily, because it's just divisive, and it puts people at war with each other, and that's not what I want at all. That's never my end goal. But there are, a few issues that need to be addressed, and I'm not afraid to address them, or, have my opinion out there, because, it is a big deal. And myself, coming from a mixed background, it holds weight to me, because I'm stuck on both sides of the spectrum as, someone who is half white and someone who is mixed, Hispanic and, part black. It's, how can I put this? I'm going to cover it, but not as in depth as some people might want me to. And I know that sucks. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, why don't you cover more? You should care more, blah, blah, blah. I do care quite a bit. It affects me a lot too, socially, emotionally. It's just, I do not want to cause such a divide at this point. Especially in my first couple episodes, it's not what I want. Especially since this isn't the real topic of the podcast, but it's always worth mentioning. You know what I mean? You can't keep quiet about these things. Furthermore, I'd like to say that when it comes to dealing with your demons, there is no surefire way to do it. And also, you're never going to be 100% okay. This isn't something you recover from fully. It's not like you're not going to have any issues for the rest of your life. That's not the deal. It's almost like being an addict. Once you're an addict in life, you're always going to be an addict. You're always going to refer to yourself as an addict because that's exactly what it is. You only get better, but you're never cured. With mental issues and emotional issues, you're never fully cured. That's just not in the cards for people that struggle, like me and anyone else out there that's listening to this podcast. What you can do is just heal. Healing is the number one thing that you can do to get yourself off the ground and back up so that you can take those steps forward. You know what I mean? Healing is a process. It's a miraculous process. It really is. And I have been neglecting it as much as anybody else. I have, 100%. I've lied to myself. I've just, it's come to the point where it's all come to a head. And you can't continue lying to yourself and saying that things are okay if they're not. If there's one message you should take from this opening podcast, it should be that you just can't pretend that things are okay if they're not. You can't hold it in. I don't care how prideful you are. One day it's going to eat you alive, inside out. And you're not going to know what to do with it and how to deal with it unless you start sooner rather than later. Like I said, I've dealt with these things for 20 years. And only recently have I been honest with myself and others about these things. Because, I thought I found the right people to be honest with. I mean, obviously I was honest with my dad and my mom and stuff like that for the most part. But I wasn't honest with them first. I was honest with somebody that I had been dating, that I really love, because I felt safe enough to tell them. And I wasn't going to be judged or looked at differently because of anything that happened to me or that I did. I felt safe. And so I opened up, and the floodgates have just opened at this point, and I've realized that I have to be honest with myself. 100% honest. It doesn't do anybody any good to lie to yourself constantly. I don't care who you are. I don't care what's at stake. I don't. You cannot lie to yourself and expect things to be okay. To expect to have working, functioning relationships on a high level of trust and understanding and love. You cannot. You can't. Even the best liars get caught in their lie and things fall apart. They always do. Lies always come back and bite you in the ass so hard you wish you had just nipped it in the butt yourself. It's like stepping in a bear trap. Like you're gonna lose something. And nobody wants that. I mean, I hope nobody wants that. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I would generally hope that nobody wants that to happen to them. Nobody wants to be without a piece of themselves because they lied to themselves for so long that it just caught up to them and poof, no, there's no more of it. You lost a part of yourself. Can't get it back. All you can do is move on with it. And then there's this big empty space that you can't fill. I don't know if I'm at that point. I really can't say until I'm fully healed myself. So this is the journey you're going to be going on with me. This isn't me saying that I'm healed and I know what the hell is going on and I know how to deal with all of this. No, I'm lost. I'm 100% lost. For anybody that's listening to this and listening to me talk, I'm lost. I've only recently decided to start helping myself and getting the proper help to, make sure that I'm okay to be with somebody and have kids and love properly and be trustworthy and all that kind of stuff. God, I am so imperfect when it comes to this stuff. I really am. I am so bad at all of it. But I want to be vulnerable and put myself out there to heal and, learn lessons and be better. I do. I've always wanted that. And to a certain extent, I've opened myself up to that, in my teenage years and my adult years. I've grown and learned, and, there are things that I did that I'm remorseful for, and there's things that I didn't do that I should have done, but I'm just as lost as everybody else. I really am. And when it comes down to it, you're on this roller coaster with me, and I'm on this roller coaster with you. And if you want and you stick around, I mean, we can kind of get through this together. You know what I mean? I would hope so. I would hope that one or two of you, or possibly three, or maybe none of you, maybe. I don't know. This is all new to me too. So, if you want to stick around and learn something with me, not from me, you're not going to learn a lot from me. I'll be the first to say that, because from me, there's not a lot that I can teach anybody outside of the things that I already know, which isn't a lot. Let's be honest. It's not a lot. The things that I do know, I'm willing to be open and share with everybody, be transparent as possible. And if you learn something from me and you take it and it works in your life, God, that means a lot to me. I'm 100% happy for you. And I'll know I did something right. That's not a failure to me at all. That's a win in the biggest right. But I want you guys to learn with me, to grow with me. This is not a one-person thing. This is all of us. Anyone who needs the help. Anyone who's laid awake at night because they couldn't sleep. Wishing they could, but they can't turn their mind off. Anyone who's ever dealt with a breakup so bad that it just cripples them for a little while. Anyone that's lost a job and felt the hardships. Anyone affected by this virus. Anyone affected by the social issues going on. Anyone who just needs help. This is what I'm going to do this for. This is to help. And I'm one of those people. I am 100% one of those people, just like you guys. And I'm proud to be one of those people that are willing to ask for help and open up and be vulnerable. I'm proud of myself for that, I would say. I would hope so. I'm still learning a lot about myself, and I'd love to learn more about you guys. I would. Obviously in the comments down low, when I post this, you guys can talk and chit chat and share your feelings about anything. Anything that I say is open for interpretation, and it's open for free conversation about it. You guys can say whatever you want about it, and I'm willing to discuss it too. If you ask me outright, I like interaction. I feel like it's very necessary, and it's very invigorating to healing, you know what I mean, to the healing process. So you guys feel free to just comment and talk and all that kind of stuff. I'm 100% into it. Ask questions, and I'll read questions and I'll answer them for you guys. Anything that you guys need. You guys can request topics. I'll usually have a topic list pretty much set, going down a list, basically of what I want to cover and what I feel is necessary. And especially on days, on days where I'm not feeling so awesome, I might want to talk about what's bugging me, and that might be the topic, you know what I mean? And it's not always the same thing bugging me every day, just like you guys. It's not the same thing. There's certain issues every single day that we all go through, and they're always different. They're almost never reoccurring, other than if you have a reoccurring issue that you're dealing with personally, whether it be your health or your relationships or your job or, something like that. The things that bug us, day in and day out, they're usually pretty different, I would say, at least for myself. So if, say one day I'm bugged because, I don't know, I got a speeding ticket, I'll talk about that. And that'll be a conversation on how to deal with setbacks, minor setbacks. Obviously, everyone's going to be upset if they get a ticket. But how to not let it affect your day to the point where it just ruins your mood, or how to deal with it right away so that, it doesn't, get left in the dust and you forget about it and it turns into a warrant, simple things. And I say simple because by normal standards, normal, I'm doing air quotes right now, by those normal society standards, that would be something easy to take care of. It would just be, it's just an inconvenience during the day. Yeah, I got a speeding ticket. Shit, I should probably slow the fuck down. To some other people, that are already dealing with shit, that might be, the straw that broke the camel's back. And the rest of the day is just a fucking garbage pile. You know what I mean? Or say, maybe you don't have the money to pay your water bill. That fucking sucks. That's a bummer. I've been there. Or your electricity bill. Been there. Well, I've had problems like that. I think the majority of us have. Can't pay your rent. Been there. Things like this, by normal standards, again, air quotes, these would be things that you could easily take care of and should be easily taken care of without being a complete inconvenience in your day or your mood. But for some of us that have emotional problems and, imbalances and stuff like that, it's, that can be the difference between a good day and wanting to slam your car into a telephone pole. You know what I mean? It just is. We all deal with things differently. We're all emotionally crippled in our own way. I'll say that much. But we're all emotionally tough in our own way too. And that's what counts. That's what I'm trying to bring to light. I'm trying to bring to light emotional toughness. That's what gets you through the day. Understanding, love, grit, trying to be rational. I know that's not always easy. Even for the most rational people, being rational can suck sometimes. It really can. My dad, we'll take my dad as an example. My dad is the most rational human being I've ever met. And even he has problems being rational sometimes because the emotional human response is so strong when you're wrapped up in things that rationality just takes a back seat. You know what I mean? You're able to be rational later. But if you're cold and calculated all the time, nothing it leaves room for more error emotionally. And you end up hurting yourself sometimes, even though maybe you got from point A to point B faster and more efficiently, but there was no fire in it. You know what I mean? You kind of were just going through the motions. And nobody wants to do that. I don't feel like anybody wants to just go through the motions. And nobody wants to be like, it is what it is. I know nobody wants to be like that. I know some of us have adopted those traits and qualities and that motto, it is what it is. And, that motto makes me sad to hear. For personal reasons, I will touch upon that, why that motto hurts me as much as it does. But even in a vacuum, that motto can really damage your drive to get things done and be happy. It really can. And you don't ever want that. You know, it's tough enough out there in this world to be happy when you know, if you don't have a couple $1,000,000 in the bank and all your bills paid and, you know, you got a yacht and shit like that. You know, it's pretty tough to be happy. Now, if you have someone you love, you have a family, you have friends, that's real wealth. It's real happiness. You know what I mean? Obviously, a yacht can buy you all those things and money can buy you those things, but are they as genuine as having those things when you don't have the money or you don't have the yacht or the big house? Or, you know what I mean? That's what matters at the end of the day. The only thing that matters is that you can support yourself emotionally, mentally, and you have some sort of supportive backbone in terms of your friends or your family, loved ones, girlfriend, boyfriend, anything like that, partner. So, I don't want to drag this podcast on too long, especially since this is just the beginning. It's about, what am I at? Probably about half an hour. I wanted to keep this one short and just kind of give you the overview of what this was going to be about, what this is going to be about, you know, to maybe, you know, maybe jog you into taking a little ride with me and seeing what happens, you know, not only for me, but for yourself, and, you know, to be honest and open with yourself, because some of us might not admit that we need it, but, you know, if this awakens a fire in somebody and they realize that they need some help and, you know, someone to talk to and some advice, some unbiased advice, you know, this could be it. And I would be more than happy to have this be it for them. You know what I mean? And you don't even have to tell me that it's it for you. You could just listen passively, and you could take these lessons that we're both going to learn together into your personal life, and you don't have to say anything about it. You don't have to comment. You don't have to, like, say thank you or anything like that. I'm not doing it for thanks and gratitude and, you know, look at me, like, I'm helping people, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it just because it's right. It's the right thing to do. You know, so if that sits well with you, and even if you don't need it, let's say you don't even need it, you're just looking for a new podcast to listen to, we're not always going to go over the depressing stuff. I promise you that. It's not going to be a podcast of just us going over 24/7 down in the dump stuff, because that's not how life is. You know what I mean? You can't focus on that kind of stuff. It's good to talk about it, but you cannot just make it your primary focus. The good things, I'm willing to talk about anything, especially the good things. If somebody were to write me a topic like, hey James, talk about, you know, your favorite video game, or talk about your favorite genre of music, talk about your favorite movie, or this is my favorite movie, or, you know, rank these based on what you like and, you know, the most and the least. I'm up for that. Whatever makes you guys feel good, I'm in for, because that's going to make me feel good. I like talking about those things. Those things are perfect. What's your favorite? Do you have dogs? Everyone has pets. I would hope so. I'm a new pet owner as of recently. I mean, I've had pets my entire life, but I have another pet right now that I rescued. His name is Cloud. He is a Siberian Husky. He's awesome. He's a little rowdy. You know, he gets out of the yard, and that's a hassle. You know what I mean? But he's still a puppy, and I'm still training him. Everyone has pets. Talk about your pets in the comments. I will make a whole topic based on how your pets affect you, good and bad, and what they do for you. Because let's be honest, pets are a part of the family, right? We don't see them as just our pets. We see them as our brother and sister or our child, stuff like that. It's good to talk about them because they are very, very therapeutic and very good for people with emotional issues. They're unconditional love. Pets are unconditional love, and I feel like everybody should have a pet at this point. They just do more good than harm. But to get back on topic, I want to talk about the good things too. That should be the main focus on this. The good things and how to use those good things to get over the bad. Every single time. That is always going to be the end of our podcast. Every single episode. It's going to be something positive. Because there is no sense in talking about the negative all the time. Because that negative will not define you at the end of the day. It won't. There's always something good on the horizon. Always. 100%. You don't have to believe me. There are times where I don't even believe myself that that's the case. But you have to. You have to believe that there is always something better right over the sunrise or the sunset. The next day always has something in store for you. You have to believe it. If you don't, you're only going to get swallowed up by your own bad shit. You are. That's just the way it is. You're going to be engulfed in this just dark black tar that just swallows you whole. And you're not going to be able to get out without some happiness, without something that brings you actual happiness. That is the most important thing. Everyone has something that brings them happiness. I don't care if it's video games. I don't care if it's music. I don't care if it's your job. I don't care if it's your kids or your wife or your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your family. There is always something that brings us joy. Always. And that's what you need to focus on. That's what I'm going to focus on. That is my promise to you guys. Anyone who's listening here, that is my promise to you guys. That every single episode is going to end on the most positive note that it can. Because the bad shit is not going to be the end all be all of it. It's never going to be the ending. It might be the middle. It might be the beginning, but it is never going to be the end. Ever. The end is always going to be good. And I'm going to help try to make sure of that. I'm going to do my goddamn best. I really am. That's my promise as the person doing this podcast. It's my promise to myself. And it's my promise to you guys. So, anyone who's listening right now, thank you so much. Really, from the bottom of my heart, if you took time out of your day to listen to this, I thank you so much. You should thank yourself for taking the shot and just doing it. Because it's a big step, and I know it's scary. I really do. I'm just as scared doing this as you guys. And I've always talked about doing it. You know what I mean? And I've never done it because it was always easier just to talk about the things that I liked. More so than talk about the things that mattered. And sometimes the things that matter are scary. Right? We've all had those conversations with people that we were dreading. Like, fuck, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But you had to do it. Because life is about having some pretty uncomfortable conversations sometimes. And getting through them for the better. So, like I said, thank you guys. If you guys took the time to listen to this. I know it's a little long for like an intro podcast episode. But I wanted to be as thorough as possible. And kind of put myself out there. Kind of introduce myself. Tell you what the premise of this was going to be. Just so you guys knew what you were getting yourselves into. If you decide to stick around. So, on that note, thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'm going to leave like links to like my Instagram if you guys want to talk to me. I'm going to leave, any kind of that information. You guys can talk to me through the comments below, like on YouTube. This is going on YouTube, by the way. So, I'll leave links to to the YouTube page and, check it out, guys. Seriously. I really hope that you guys check it out. And if you are already checking it out, thank you. I love you guys. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.